the upcoming coronation, the future of the monarchy, and Canada. This is our conversation with Princess Anne.
Well, a title change is reportedly in the works for Queen Consort Camilla, expected to take place once Charles is crowned king at his coronation.
Having a figure who truly personifies what your country stands for has always been a powerful ideal. Now, in a surprising turn of events, Princess Anne ascends the throne, reshaping the future of the monarchy and stripping Camilla of her title.
Sources say that Camilla is set to drop the consort part of her title and just be referred to as Queen.
With this shift in Buckingham Palace's power dynamics, the public is left captivated, wondering what changes lie ahead. As Princess Anne steps into a prominent role, uncertainty surrounds the monarchy like never before. Dive with us into the unfolding story behind Anne's unexpected rise and Camilla's surprising demotion in this new chapter for the British monarchy. A new era and King Charles's health battle. King Charles's cancer diagnosis marks a challenging phase for the royal family.
Breaking news from Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the king has been diagnosed with cancer,
which now finds itself short of key members. Known for his openness, Charles recently revealed his struggle with an enlarged prostate to encourage more men to get screened. Buckingham Palace has conveyed that this disclosure is part of his effort to raise global awareness around cancer. Charles shared the news with his close family members, and Prince Harry, now living in California with Meghan and their 2 children, is expected to visit the UK soon. Having waited longer than any heir in history to become king, Charles's initial year on the throne has been one of ceremony and tradition, as seen in his elaborate coronation.
Hold fast from henceforth this seat of royal dignity, which is yours by the authority of Almighty God. May that same God, whose throne endures forever.
Though committed to upholding his mother's legacy, he has brought his unique perspective to the monarchy, earning a generally positive response from the public, despite less enthusiasm from younger generations. Prior to this health revelation, the tension between Prince Harry and Prince William had been a top concern for the royal family. Following his diagnosis, Charles is set to undergo regular outpatient treatments, which may involve chemotherapy, radiotherapy, or immunotherapy. He has maintained a visible presence, traveling around London in a ceremonial vehicle with large windows, symbolizing his dedication to public service, even amid health challenges. The news of King Charles's health has stirred widespread concern, leading many to wonder how it might impact the monarchy's stability. A significant decline in his health could mark a turning point, signaling potential shifts in leadership within the royal family. Camilla's journey from public disdain to acceptance as queen has been remarkable. Born into a prominent family on July 17, 1947, her life took an unexpected path when she met Prince Charles in the early 1970s. Although her marriage to Andrew Parker Bowles brought her happiness, her close bond with Charles endured, even as they led separate lives. Both marriages faced significant challenges, leading to Camilla's divorce in 1995 and Charles's in 1996.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
As Camilla's relationship with Charles became more public, the media painted her in a negative light, especially after Princess Diana's revelations. Diana famously referred to Camilla as the third party in her marriage, which fueled public criticism against Camilla. However, after Diana's tragic passing, people began to view Camilla more sympathetically, seeing her as caught in complex circumstances rather than as an instigator. Gradually, Charles and Camilla started appearing together publicly, including at Camilla's milestone birthday celebration, where both families gathered, marking a new level of acceptance. Mark Bolland, Charles's deputy private secretary, played a key role in reshaping Camilla's image by organizing public appearances, which helped to shift public opinion. A significant breakthrough in Camilla's journey occurred during her meeting with Prince William. His acceptance was seen as pivotal in her path to becoming part of the royal family. Over time, even Queen Elizabeth II's views softened, culminating in a lunch in 2000 that symbolized the Queen's tentative approval. This meeting laid the groundwork for Charles and Camilla's wedding in 2005. a union that was initially unexpected but ultimately accepted by the royal family and the public alike. The Queen's warm comment about welcoming her son and his new wife into the winner's circle symbolized her approval, a significant moment after years of challenges for Charles and Camilla. Camilla's friends note she never aspired to become queen. Her close friend, the Marchioness of Lansdowne, has shared that Camilla approaches her future with Charles humbly, a reflection of her grounded character amid royal complexities. Meanwhile, Harry has raised concerns about Camilla's influence, describing her as dangerous in his memoir, Sperry.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
That made her dangerous?
That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press.
Suggesting she has sometimes prioritized her ambitions over his and William's well-being. While some believe Camilla actively pursued a more prominent role, others argue her primary goal has always been to support Charles. The ultimate endorsement came from Queen Elizabeth II herself, who, during her Platinum Jubilee, expressed her wish for Camilla to be recognized as Queen Consort, a gesture of acceptance after years of public judgment. In her role as Queen Consort, Camilla has committed herself to meaningful causes, such as advocating against violence toward women, showing both dedication and humility. Camilla's legacy. Camilla's bond with the late Queen was notably strong, rooted in shared interests like their passion for horses and royal duties. Through it all, Camilla has been a steadfast source of comfort for Charles, offering calm reassurance during stressful times, even lending a hand during moments of frustration, such as when Charles dealt with a malfunctioning pen. Her journey from Duchess to Queen is a testament to her resilience, adaptability, and unwavering support for Charles. If King Charles III were to pass away, Camilla would retain her title. Currently known as Queen Consort, a title designated for the monarch's spouse, she would transition to Queen Dowager or simply Dowager Queen, a traditional title for a king's widow. This honorary designation allows her to retain royal privileges and respected status, even though she would no longer hold any governing authority. Her role would be mainly ceremonial, and she would continue to participate in charitable work and public appearances, following a historical precedent set by Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, after the passing of King George VI. Evolution of the British Monarchy. How has the British monarchy adapted to meet modern expectations while respecting its deep-rooted traditions? The British monarchy is one of the oldest institutions in the world, with a history stretching back over 1,000 years. Today it functions as a constitutional monarchy, where the king or queen holds symbolic authority, while actual governance is led by elected representatives. This blend of ancient customs and modern governance defines the monarchy's role as both a cultural and political pillar in the United Kingdom. At the heart of this system is the monarch, currently King Charles III, who succeeded Queen Elizabeth II in 2022. While the monarch is the central figure, senior royals play key roles in upholding the monarchy. Their responsibilities include public engagements, charitable work, and diplomacy. The line of succession follows rules of descent, gender-neutral primogeniture, and religious affiliation, as established by the Succession to the Crown Act 2013, which brought modern updates to the process. Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, stands as first in line to the throne as Charles's eldest son. He is expected to gradually assume more responsibilities in preparation for his future role. Following him in line are his children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. The 2013 reforms introduced gender equality in succession, allowing Princess Charlotte to maintain her position ahead of her younger brother Louis, a change from previous succession laws. Although heirs may now marry Catholics, the monarch must still be aligned with the Church of England as they serve as its supreme governor. Prince William and Catherine. As the future king, Prince William, along with his wife Catherine, is actively involved in causes related to mental health, environmental protection, and child development, establishing themselves as modern faces of the monarchy who appeal to younger generations. The 2020 decision by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to step back from royal duties.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle reportedly blindsiding the Queen. After returning from a long trip to Canada, they say they intend to step back as senior members of the royal family
and relocate to the United States, has further reshaped the dynamics within the royal family, resulting in a smaller group of working royals. A key aspect of the British monarchy's structure today is its connection to the Commonwealth of Nations, an association of 54 member countries, many of which were once part of the British Empire. While the monarch has no political authority in these nations, they serve as a symbolic leader, a role that Queen Elizabeth II passed on to King Charles III. The British monarchy today blends tradition with modern elements, supported by senior royals, the royal household, and ties to the Commonwealth. The monarchy remains a key unifying figure for the UK and many countries around the world. Looking ahead, Princess Anne may face both challenges and unexpected achievements on her journey towards the throne. When Queen Anne Stuart rose to power in 1702, her path was full of political struggles and personal hardships. She became queen after King William III's sudden death, taking over a country in turmoil. At the start of her reign, Britain was still healing from the Glorious Revolution, where her sister Mary and her husband William had overthrown their father. As a Protestant monarch, Queen Anne brought hope to a nation searching for its identity. In her first act as queen, she formed an accession council and promised to defend Protestantism, setting the tone for her leadership. This was crucial, as there was deep distrust towards Catholics, particularly due to her family's past. When addressing Parliament for the first time, dressed in royal attire, she proudly said, "I know my own heart to be entirely English," a statement that resonated with the people, who were eager for unity. Though Anne faced many personal struggles, especially her health issues like severe gout, she managed to maintain her role as queen. Despite her challenges, she became a beloved monarch, admired for her strength. Her reign was also marked by deep personal grief, as she went through 18 pregnancies, but sadly had no surviving children. This loss weighed heavily on her, and without an heir, it was clear that her reign would be the end of the Stuart line. Throughout her time as queen, Anne stayed committed to her royal duties, showing resilience and determination. Her reign, though filled with both triumphs and difficulties, laid the groundwork for future female rulers. Even though history often overshadows her, Queen Anne's leadership through a politically turbulent time cemented her place in Britain's rich history. The future king and Anne's relationship. Over the years, Princess Anne's relationship with her brother Prince Charles, the future king, has remained relatively stable. However, Anne's pragmatic and less ceremonial approach to royal duties has sometimes led to a subtle rivalry between them. In contrast, her relationships with her younger brothers, Princes Andrew and Edward, are more complex. Tensions with Andrew have arisen, particularly following his recent scandals. Anne, who is known for her dedication to maintaining the royal family's reputation, has reportedly distanced herself from Andrew's controversies. While they grew up together, their adult lives have taken very different paths. Anne has remained focused on her royal duties, while Andrew has been involved in public disputes. Her connection with Prince Edward, however, is less contentious. Edward, who tends to keep a lower profile within the royal family, has worked alongside Anne on several royal engagements. Their relationship is described as amicable and cooperative. Princess Anne's view on royal duty has been strongly shaped by her bond with her mother, Queen Elizabeth II. Unlike her brothers, who have sometimes struggled with the weight of royal expectations, Anne embraced her responsibilities from a young age. Her relationship with her mother reflects mutual respect, particularly regarding their shared work ethic. Queen Elizabeth, known for her steadfast commitment to the crown, instilled in Anne a deep sense of duty, earning Anne a reputation as the most hardworking member of the royal family. Much like her mother, Anne believes in remaining neutral in political matters, maintaining composure, and prioritizing the monarchy's interests above personal desires. Although Queen Elizabeth's demanding royal schedule during Anne's formative years meant they didn't spend as much time together as one might expect, this did not create discord. Anne understood her mother's responsibilities and admired her ability to handle pressure and leadership. Princess Anne's relationship with her father, Prince Philip, was particularly close. Many observers have noted that Anne shared a special bond with her father, even stronger than his relationships with his other children. This influence is reflected in Anne's famously candid personality. Like Philip, she is known for her straightforwardness, often expressing her views without concern for political correctness or protocol. Princess Anne's first marriage to Captain Mark Phillips in 1973 was initially celebrated as a romantic union. The couple had 2 children, Peter and Zara, and for a time, Anne embraced family life. However, the strains of Phillips's military career and his frequent absences placed pressure on their relationship. This eventually led to mutual infidelity and their divorce in 1992, just before her brothers Charles and Andrew went through their own highly publicized divorces. Anne's divorce was one of the first royal separations in modern history to attract significant media attention. Despite the public scrutiny, Anne handled her divorce with remarkable composure, maintaining a sense of dignity throughout the process. Later that year, Anne found love again and married Navy officer Timothy Lawrence in a private ceremony. Their relationship has remained refreshingly private, reflecting Anne's desire for a life away from the public eye. Her second marriage has proven to be a stable and nurturing partnership, a contrast to her first. Lawrence shares Anne's strong work ethic and reserved demeanor, providing a solid foundation for their life together. Princess Anne's preferences of royal figures. While her marital experiences have shaped her personal life, Anne's role as a devoted mother to Peter and Zara remains central to her identity. Her ability to skillfully balance personal and public responsibilities has cemented her status as one of the most dedicated and hard-working members of the royal family. It's interesting to note that Princess Anne has strong opinions about certain public figures. She is often viewed as a traditionalist, embodying a deep sense of duty and commitment to the monarchy's continuity. This conservative outlook has at times put her at odds with more progressive figures in public life. For example, Anne reportedly had reservations about Tony Blair's efforts to modernize British politics. Blair's approach, which aimed to infuse a more relaxed and celebrity-oriented vibe into the political landscape, didn't align with Anne's preference for a more formal, duty-driven representation of the monarchy. This difference in perspective became especially evident in Blair's management of the monarchy's public image after Princess Diana's death.
And that sort of broke the ice. It was that moment. And I think suddenly people saw her, instead of feeling all prickly and angry, they suddenly thought, my goodness, this is a grandmother and she's got to deal with all this.
Princess Anne, while known for her largely private demeanor, has consistently shown a preference for tradition rather than transformation when it comes to royal life. Despite her tendency to keep her political views and personal opinions to herself, Anne's actions and public statements suggest a clear inclination toward preserving the historical structures of the monarchy rather than adapting it to contemporary trends. This stance has made her wary of those who seek to modernize not only royal duties, but societal events in general. One area where Princess Anne's traditional views are most evident is her criticism of modern royal trends shaped by celebrity culture. Unlike younger members of the royal family, who have embraced social media and a more public-facing persona, Anne has remained steadfast in her commitment to a more reserved and pragmatic approach. She has often voiced her disapproval of the increasing celebrity status attached to members of the royal family, fearing that it undermines the monarchy's core purpose. In interviews, Anne has frequently raised concerns about the royal family becoming too eager to cater to public opinion or become overly accessible to the masses. She has warned against the emergence of royal celebrities, emphasizing that the monarchy's true role is to serve the people rather than entertain them. This belief contrasts sharply with the younger generation's focus on building a public image through media appearances, Instagram posts, and television interviews. For Anne, the essence of royalty lies in substance, serving the country and upholding the dignity of the crown rather than style or flashiness. Disagreements with notable public figures. One of the most well-known instances of Anne's more traditional stance clashing with modern royal trends involves her relationship with Princess Diana. Diana, who was often referred to as the People's Princess, was beloved by the public for her charm, relatability, and emotional openness. She embraced media attention and used her platform to promote various causes. However, Anne reportedly viewed her sister-in-law's celebrity status as inconsistent with the gravity of royal duties. While Diana's public persona was one of warmth and empathy, Anne was more reserved, believing that privacy and diligence were essential to maintaining the royal family's dignity. Although the two never publicly clashed, the underlying tension between Anne and Diana was palpable. Anne, who has always held a strong sense of duty to the crown, was said to have been critical of Diana's media portrayal, particularly her emotionally charged public appearances. Anne, who rarely seeks attention for her personal life, believed that the royal family should maintain a level of detachment from the public's emotional demands. In contrast, Diana's emotional openness, particularly after her divorce from Prince Charles, was widely celebrated by the public, but did not sit well with Anne's more traditional outlook on royal conduct.
The marriage problems of Charles and Diana have cast a shadow over the royal family. Now the Queen has decided to bring the whole issue to a head by advising them to divorce.
Another area of notable discord in Princess Anne's life was her relationship with former Prime Minister Tony Blair. Following Princess Diana's tragic death in 1997, Blair played a pivotal role in advising the royal family on how to handle the public response. He urged the monarchy to show greater emotional transparency, connecting more intimately with the nation's grief. This was in stark contrast to Princess Anne's approach, which was more reserved and stoic. She believed that while the public's sorrow was deeply felt, the royal family's role was not to engage in displays of excessive emotion. Blair's approach, which sought to modernize the monarchy's public image, clashed with Anne's commitment to maintaining a more traditional royal persona. He believed that the monarchy's connection to the people could be strengthened through emotional displays, something that Anne did not endorse. Although Anne refrained from openly criticizing Blair, her actions and decisions suggested a subtle disagreement with his more casual approach to the monarchy's public relations. Princess Anne's perspective on royal duties embodies not only a conservative outlook, but also a profound commitment to preserving the monarchy's relevance in modern British culture. In her eyes, the monarchy's purpose is not to entertain or seek public approval, but to maintain a steady presence in the nation's life, providing stability and continuity. Her approach stands in contrast to the more modernized approach seen in other royal family members, particularly as they adapt to the shifting expectations of the public. As the royal family continues to evolve, with Camilla navigating changes to her title and other members embracing new roles, the future of the monarchy may depend on finding a harmonious balance between tradition and the evolving demands of the public. The little boy's sobs came in tiny, choked bursts. His tiny body trembled as the grief inside him poured out, and Kate's heart thudded painfully in her chest. She gently rocked him back and forth, feeling the weight of his sorrow in the slow, rhythmic movements. She didn't try to hurry him, and didn't push him to stop crying. She simply stayed there, holding him close, letting him feel the comfort of her presence and the softness of her touch. His cries were quiet, but there was an intensity in them that told Kate this wasn't just a child's sadness. It was something deeper, something that had been building inside him for a long time. After a few moments, the young boy pulled back slightly, his small hands pressing against her shoulders as he looked up at her. His eyes were red, swollen from the tears, but the sadness that filled them was even more telling. There was a loneliness in them that struck Kate to her core. His tiny face was flushed with emotion, his expression filled with grief. And for a moment, Kate could see his vulnerability. He was so lost in his own sadness, in a world that felt too big and overwhelming for him. His tears had stopped, but his pain remained, raw and open in the soft vulnerability of his young face. Kate gently cupped his tear-streaked face in her hands, brushing her thumbs across his wet cheeks to remove the last of his tears. She could feel his tiny hands still clinging to her, holding on to her as if she were the only thing keeping him from falling apart. Her heart swelled with both love and sadness, and she bent closer to him, her voice soothing and tender. "You're not alone," she whispered again, her words flowing like a quiet promise. "You don't have to carry this on your own." The boy's grip tightened around her hand, his little fingers curling into her palm. He didn't say anything, but his silence spoke volumes. There was a comfort in his touch, in the way he held her hand so tightly, as though he were afraid to let go. Kate understood. She understood the quiet longing in his eyes, the silent plea for someone to be there, to listen, to care. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. The crowd had gone back to their own conversations, but to Kate, the world had narrowed down to just her and this little boy, his head resting against her shoulder. The warmth of his small body pressed against hers, and Kate continued to stroke his back, whispering softly in his ear, her voice the only constant in the midst of everything else. Slowly, the boy's body relaxed. His sobs had stopped, and the tremble in his small frame began to ease. He was exhausted, his little face still wet from the tears, but there was a softness in his features now, a stillness that hadn't been there before. As he leaned into her, his breath evened out, and Kate felt his tiny body go limp with the weight of his emotions being released. Kate smiled softly, her heart filling with a quiet sense of peace. She continued to hold him, her arms never once leaving the safety of his fragile form. As his head rested against her shoulder, Kate whispered, "It's okay now, little one. You can rest." And for the first time that evening, Kate could feel his heart slowing, his tiny sobs fading into the quiet of the moment. As Kate held the little boy gently in her arms, the little boy could feel the warmth of her embrace, like a soft blanket wrapping around him. It was different from anything he had known, a kindness, a tenderness that seemed to reach deep into his heart, soothing the ache that had been there for so long. His tiny body, still trembling with the weight of his emotions, slowly relaxed against her. There was a comfort in her presence, something safe and steady, like the calm after a storm. His tears had stopped, but her touch continued to work its quiet magic, giving him a sense of peace that he had never felt before. For the first time, the loneliness that had been etched on his face softened, and though his eyes were still red, there was a flicker of hope that hadn't been there when he first stood before her. The crowd, which had once been buzzing with excitement and noise, had fallen into a hushed silence. Every eye in the room was on Kate and the boy, their moment of quiet connection becoming the centerpiece of the event. The people watched, some with hands over their mouths, others with tears in their own eyes, as they saw the warmth of Kate's kindness unfold. She wasn't just the Princess of Wales in that moment. She was a mother, a woman offering love and comfort to a child who needed it more than anyone could have imagined. The quiet room seemed to breathe with them as they stood there, a small world within a world. The photographers who had been eagerly snapping shots just moments before now found themselves captivated by the intimate scene before them, as though they had forgotten to capture the deeper beauty of the moment. For all their cameras and lenses, they were too caught in the raw emotion to focus on the task at hand. As Kate gently wiped away the last tear from the little boy's cheek, her hand lingering on his small face, she could feel him starting to calm, the heaviness lifting little by little. His tiny fingers, still clutching her hand, squeezed tighter. It was as though he didn't want to let go, not of her, and not of this feeling of safety that she had given him. It was a grip that spoke volumes, a silent promise that he wasn't ready to face the world alone anymore. A charity volunteer who had been watching from the side walked quietly over to Kate, her face filled with compassion. She leaned in and softly spoke, her voice barely audible over the murmurs of the crowd. "Your Highness," she said, "this little boy, he's lost both of his parents. He's been through so much." Kate looked up at the volunteer, her expression softening with understanding. She nodded, her heart aching for the boy in her arms. "I know his pain," she replied quietly, her voice filled with a gentle sadness. There was no need for more words, as if in that moment, she and the child shared a bond that went deeper than anyone could comprehend. The volunteer, with a look of awe and admiration in her eyes, whispered, "You're so brave." Her voice was thick with emotion, but Kate simply smiled warmly in response, her attention still focused entirely on little boy, who was now resting his head against her shoulder, his breath slow and steady. In that quiet corner of the room, the event had turned into something more than just a public appearance. It had become a moment of healing. Kate wasn't just performing royal duties. She was offering something priceless: her time, her comfort, and her love. In a world that often felt too big and too fast for someone like this boy, she had made it small and safe again. As the room watched, they saw not just the Princess of Wales, but a human being, showing tenderness and strength in equal measure. They saw a mother's embrace, the kind of love that transcends titles and expectations. And in that moment, the air seemed to hold its breath, as if the world itself was bearing witness to the quiet power of empathy and care. Little boy, for the first time in what seemed like forever, felt peace. The quiet connection between him and Kate had given him a space to simply be, to let his heart catch up with his emotions. His shoulders, once tense with grief, slowly relaxed. The tightness in his chest began to loosen, and though his heart was still healing, he no longer felt alone. The warmth of Kate's touch, the strength of her presence, gave him a glimmer of a brighter future, one where love and kindness could heal even the deepest wounds. And as they stood there together, the boy firmly holding her hand, the crowd continued to watch, their hearts touched by the beauty of the moment. It was a moment of raw humanity, a fleeting yet unforgettable display of tenderness that would be remembered long after the event was over. But even in the midst of such a powerful scene, the photographers missed the most important shot. Lost in the quiet beauty of it all, they failed to capture the essence of the moment. The moment when Kate Middleton, with nothing more than a soft touch and a compassionate heart, gave a grieving child a piece of hope. Kate kneeled down in front of James, her eyes soft and filled with understanding. She could see the sadness that lingered in his young eyes, the weight of loss pressing down on him in ways he couldn't yet fully understand. But as she looked at him, she saw strength he might not yet recognize in himself. Gently, she took his small hand in hers and whispered, "You are so strong and you are so brave. I know it doesn't always feel like it, but you are." Her voice was steady, filled with warmth, and her words were not just comforting, but motivating. She wanted him to believe it, to hold on to the truth that there was power in his heart, even in the quietest moments. The people around them watched at a respectful distance, their eyes filled with admiration and respect for the quiet, powerful exchange. There was something beautiful in the way Kate was interacting with the child, something that transcended the formality of the event and spoke to the core of humanity. A charity volunteer who had been observing the scene came closer and spoke softly to Kate. "Her Royal Highness," she began, her voice thick with emotion. "This boy, his name is James. He lost both of his parents, and he doesn't speak much. But today you've given him something no one else could. Hope. You've given him hope to live confidently." Kate nodded, her heart swelling with emotion. She squeezed James's hand, offering him a silent promise that he wasn't alone, and gently stood up, guiding him to walk with her. As she moved, the crowd parted ways, quietly giving them space. The moment felt sacred, as if the world had paused to honor the quiet bond between the princess and the boy. James, with his hand firmly in Kate's, began to feel the care and love she was offering him. There was no rush, no pressure, just the steady, warm presence of someone who cared deeply. For Kate, there was an overwhelming sense of responsibility. As a mother and as a person, she felt a deep love for all children, but there was something uniquely special about James. In his eyes, she saw the quiet strength she had just spoken about, the same strength she was determined to help him realize. That moment, small as it seemed, held immense power. For James, it would never be forgotten. The touch of a hand, the kind words, the time given to simply be present, these small gestures of kindness had made a world of difference in his life. And as he walked beside Kate, he knew that even in the hardest times, there would always be people who cared. It was a lesson that would stay with him forever. If you want to know more about untold royal stories, then do comment below.